Today, my partner, the Honorable Mayor of Greenwich, is not here today. He abandoned me. But, like all things, I always find another person with just as much knowledge, and his name is Mr. Wayne Gilman. He's my host and my co-host today.
Oh, well, I have to say this is an honor and pleasure. It's my second time appearing here.
That's true.
And sitting in for the great Glenn and attorney Stephen James, it's just an amazing experience. And I'm grateful to be here, Paul, because you've allowed me to bring a part of my family to be part of your program this afternoon.
So I heard, and I have a special guest, and your name is David Ross.
That's correct.
And you're a family, huh?
Yes, we are. He is married to one of my lovely cousins. I have so many cousins, And I don't want to get too graphic here because I realize I'm being memorialized. In fact, they'll be giving me my memorial. As I said what I'd like to say, but I love all my cousins. She's one of my favorites, Daphne.
I heard, David Ross, that you have your program is called Education First Golf.
That's
the name of your program.
Yes.
And how long has it been in existence?
A little less than 1 year. I came up with an idea a year ago, in last November, and we had our first summer session from June 24th to August 24th in Wilmington, Delaware, where we taught, entertained, and inspired 171 youth from the city of Wilmington.
And what is the program based on?
The program is based on the same type of concept that they have with the First Tee golf program, okay? However, the First Tee is typically located at golf courses. They're not golf courses in underserved neighborhoods. So my thought was to take golf to recreation centers, community centers, and city parks.
So basically to the inner city?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my idea. I thought it would be, we would have a success even if we had a handful of kids. But as I indicated earlier, it's 171 kids at the top of the program, at the height of the program, if you would, and then 153 at the low. Typically what we do is we go out and we teach kids to play golf. However, we touch on things that are important to kids, their education. If kids have a problem with education, we want to find out what the root problem is. Help them. If we don't help them, we collaborate with other agencies that would help them get services that they need, whether it's a city agency or a county agency.
So basically you also have a mentoring program?
Throughout the program, yes.
Besides just teaching somebody to play golf?
That's right.
Oh, that's wonderful. I know it's very much needed. Do you think you can bring that program to New York City?
I would love to bring a chapter in Wilmington to New York City.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to make it happen.
Okay.
For you, I'm going to make it happen
Okay.
because last week I was interviewing the executive director of the YMCA here on Jamaica Avenue. And he's a very creative man. He brings different programs to the community. And I'm going to mention your name, I'm going to mention what you do, and I'm going to see that it happens.
Well, thank you very much. I'll be here. Okay?
And I tell you, what's so fascinating about this, David and Paul, from what I remember, and I'm sort of like the senior man here.
Yes, you are.
I remember, thank you for reminding me, And I remember growing up as a kid, watching golf on TV. Somewhat fascinated by it, but my parents talked me out of getting into that game because they said, if you want to participate in golf, we'd have to spend money that we don't have in buying clubs, taking you to different events, and so therefore, and I'm talking about, I grew up in the 1960s in Brooklyn. And the deal is, if it wasn't basketball, it was stickball, baseball, and that's it. I just could not imagine anyone of color back then. I mean, we didn't even have Tiger Woods. I mean, there were people in the game of color back then. But, the deal is, unless there was some way of getting involved without having to worry about the price of just equipment alone.
Sure.
I think that's the one thing that discourages a lot of young
It
people.
does, it does. Now, how do you make that possible?
That's the
That's the one question I would ask.
What I'm doing with my program
Mhm.
is I have clubs available. I went to my friends at the USGA in Far Hills, New Jersey. The USGA is the United States Golf Association, the other governing body of all of golf. And because I've been around golf for more than 5 decades, I've got to know a lot of people, whether they're playing in golf tournaments, or I also was the president of the oldest African-American men's golf club in the country, the Royal Golf Club of Washington, D.C., which our original members date back to the early 1900s.
whoa.
Okay? And I only said that to say that if you have a desire, you just go. It happens.
So your parents was involved in getting you started in playing golf?
No. I was the only one of a family of 10, including my parents, from Augusta, Georgia, that plays golf, and still to this day, nobody else in my family plays.
But what started you?
Well, being from Augusta, we would go back in the summers, and my uncles worked at the Augusta National Country Club.
Ah, okay.
And when they were off, they had a makeshift golf course set up at a recreation center. Okay, I saw them play, and I played around with them a little bit. So when I got back home to DC, I wanted to watch Shell's Wonderful World of Golf. So then I had to wrestle 3 older brothers to do that, because they wanted to watch something else. Anyway, make long story short, I ended up with golf clubs, and I would hit balls down the alley. Because I didn't know how to go to the golf course, I didn't have any of that stuff formulated, my folks didn't know, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And by the time I got to the 5th grade, I'm 11 years old, at the thereabouts of the time, and I'm playing golf, never had a lesson, but I'm hitting a golf ball, just like it was a pure, natural thing for me to do.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I played in a tournament within the first 4 or 5 months of me playing, and I came in 2nd place. And I got a putter after my trophy. A gentleman by the name of Lee Elder gave me an Acushnet Titleist putter.
Whoa.
And that just,
Lee Elder?
Lee Elder. And Lee and I, over the years, know one another. In fact, whether it's Lee Elder, Mr. Sifford, Calvin Pete, Jim Dent, all of these guys I've had the pleasure of meeting. Didn't play golf, hadn't had the pleasure of playing golf with any of them, but these are golf icons that I rubbed elbows with, I've taken pictures with, and it's a part of my golf story. Everybody has a story, whether it's fishing, whether it's football, basketball. My golf story just happened to be very, very rich because, as I said before, my first interest started when I was about 8, and I was actually put that into implemented playing golf, started playing golf when I was about between 10 and 11, and I just celebrated my 65th birthday. And I want to have everything that's in my body and my being, I want to transfer that to every kid that I meet.
I hear you.
That's a part of my golf program.
That's going to be your legacy.
Yes.
It seems that it's going successful.
I'm excited about it. It's all that I do is about this program, aside from making my own tea time.
Tell me more about this program now. How did it really originate? How did you get started? How did you get funded? Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, as I just mentioned moments ago, I was an 8-year-old kid on a handlebar of a bicycle riding with my uncle to this playground where they had this makeshift golf course set up. You take that 50 years ago, 55 years ago, is what I was doing, till last year in November when I was at Hicks Anderson Center, all of that came back to me. And the whole idea was to introduce these kids at the recreation centers and places where there is no first tee. Because I wanted to make a difference in their education. You say, well, why golf? I was looking at stats and I was trying to figure out how I was going to get to reach my goal. And that was raising the graduation rate in high school for the kids in Wilmington. I started reading about the first tee and what they were doing. 70% of the kids in the first tee program go on to college. That's huge.
That is huge.
That's huge. Then I thought, if I could just make a small difference, if I can increase the graduation rate in high school and higher education, for them to go on to higher education, if I can increase that by 5% or 10%, I'm a winner, I'm successful, the program's successful. It's not about myself, and I want this program, I'm modeling this program, giving it a great foundation, because in 5 or 6 years, I want to put this into someone else's hands, and I will take care of getting the funding for it. I'll continue to do that, but the day-to-day things that I do now, teaching, we're going to have golf professionals in doing that. Okay, that's my goal. I want to be able to go to HBCUs and get young African-American golfer professionals, and they'll have a job when they graduate college, teaching other young kids like themselves to play.
It's a win-win situation, and what's so amazing about, I can't think of any institution, not even the HBCs that are, involved in that kind of activity now.
Well, see, it's a kind of thing, and I've reached out to an HBCU at the Maryland Eastern Shore.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good buddy of he's a good friend of a good buddy of mine. Mike Bragg and I play a lot of golf together. Mike was a punter for the Redskins, and I play a lot of golf with him. And he's got a buddy that is the golf coach down at Maryland Eastern Shore. So they came out and did an interview with me, wanting to find out how they can help. So my whole idea of putting this together was, again, just to use golf just to attract the kids. And once they get there, we will find out where they are in their education, how we can help them, and how we can even help other services, other needs with their families.
Now, David, you was telling me that you got a building?
Yes, we're working on with the city of Wilmington. Everybody, the city is quite aware of our program. We've toured some buildings in the city, and we've selected a building which is in the West Central City area of Wilmington, where there is a great need for help, supplementing their education, getting them the things that they just need to go to school, whether it's a coat, whether it's a jacket, whether it's a meal, whether they need their clothes washed. All of these kind of things have an effect on kids going to school, whether they want to go to school or perform in school or all of the above. It really does. And we're just trying to find out what those root problems are to help them. And the best way that I know that I can do that is with something that I love dearly, is golf.
I get a sense there's a nexus between the discipline of studying golf and education based on what you're saying. What is it? Is it the discipline of understanding the game, or, because again, I'm in a vacuum. I appreciate golf. I could go on the green, take a swing, love that, and I love the view of the greens. Let's put it that way. But that's as far as it goes, So
Yes, what Mr. Gilman here is saying is correct, but I also found out when kids are involved in sports, different types of sports, whether it's golf, it's tennis, baseball, basketball, any type of extra activity other than the education, it always enhances the educational piece.
Absolutely.
And why do you think that is? I think that's what Gwen was trying. Why is that?
Well, there are two things I think that I believe in the way that I'm teaching with my program is it shows teamwork. It shows that you can work with others. It shows to learn any game, you have to persevere if you're going to be successful at it. And even in golf is more so because it's so difficult. If a kid learns to play golf, that will change a young lady or young man's life. Simply because it's not an easy thing to do. You have got to come out day in and day out, day in and day out to be successful. And when you start to see that success happen, it's incredible. But I teach kids when they start with our program, we're all part of a team. When I get up and when I leave, I got a team. My wife's on my team. My kids are on my team. The kids on my team, it's all about a team, and we all have a responsibility.
Right.
And once they get that part, that their mom, their dad, their teacher, Coach David, all of us are on your team.
Well, also I heard my son talk to me about being on a team. He ran track most of his life. And he said by being on a team, he felt there was no race, there was no religion, it was all about the sport.
That's right.
And I guess that's what you're trying to say is that when you're a part of a team and everything else is blocked out.
Right.
All the negativity stuff, and you depend on each other.
All of them is left at the door.
Yes.
If you would. Now, we were very fortunate this summer. I had kids that are very fortunate kids, very affluent kids, very wealthy kids. Okay? All a part of the program. Okay?
Largely kids of color, I gather.
Yeah, largely kids of color, but there are kids that don't look like you and I.
Right.
That were part of it, he was the oldest, he was 17, and a leader, and had played golf before. And his mom was a big contributor to our program. And I didn't do it for that. That only came later in terms of contribution. But Oliver was a huge part. And I thought it was really cool for that to happen because he was the only one of the golf instructors that was a Caucasian kid.
And what was the reaction, the response?
He never flinched. He never flinched. They thought he was soft, the other kids, and they realized there was no backup for him. He ended up being the leader when I had to.
Interesting.
Okay? But I only said that to say, if you put the elements out there, if you teach, they want to learn. Oliver was one that made a contribution. He'd been around golf. No kid, out of all of the kids that we taught, no one ever rejected him. More kids wanted to be on his team after they got to know him than anybody else's team that was coaching.
Yeah.
So that was, it's a huge learning curve for me. This is my first time out of the gate. So I can't wait till next season, okay? I mean, I've got ideas and things that we're doing for the fall and for the winter, but I can't wait for those kids to tee it up.
Okay.
Right.
You're listening to Our World, Our Power here on Caribbean Buzz Radio and TV. You can also hear us on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Google Play, and don't forget, we're heard on 144 countries all around. Please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and that's Our World, of course. And if you need to reach me, you can reach me at 646-340-7271. Let's continue our conversation. Now, David, you have a curriculum all put together, I guess.
I'm working on a curriculum.
Okay.
As I said before, I'm just out of the gate. And I'm learning all these things. I mean, handbooks, manuals, curriculum, all of those kinds of things I'm formulating now to include other things in our program. Because I realized that working with so many kids the past summer, quite a few of them had an interest in what we're doing right now, in broadcasting and doing that kind of work as a career. So I have been the pleasure of talking to Mr. Wayne Gilman about coming down to do some workshops.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
And as I said to you, I'm going to hook you up with the YMCA, the executive director, and because I like golf, and I also like tennis, and I always felt as a minority that those were the two sports that was like oblivious to, to our culture. You say to your mother or your father, I want to play golf. What? Or you want to play tennis? I don't know. But I grew up in the northern part of the Bronx, and fortunately there were a lot of golf courses, And on Sundays, my aunt used to come up and take me to by City Island. It was a little miniature golf course.
Right, still stands.
Yes, it still is there. I don't know if it's still there. And she used to take us, and I used to play little miniature golf.
Okay.
And I sort of liked it, but there's a lot of stuff that, that minorities are not still open to. And that's one of the two sports that I feel they need to, become more, interested in is golf.
Right.
And tennis,
Yeah. Well, golf has never been a cool sport until they start realizing that Steph Curry plays golf, Michael Jordan plays golf, and so on and so on. So now, of course, kids are seeing that. They're going like, wow, if they're doing that kind of thing, it must be okay.
Yeah, it is.
And the one thing, not to cut you off, but the one thing that I find so amazing about golf, it just seems to be the platform that a lot of business people go to.
Absolutely.
In order to interact and discuss things that are just normally what you would think is discussed in someone's office.
Right.
a lot of deals are cut on the golf course, and businesses are sold, purchased, like the gamut.
Yeah, property is sold, everything.
Right.
Everything.
And I don't understand that, but I mean, maybe the rarefied air and the greens and all that, they have a lot to do with it.
Why do you think that is?
Well, when you think about it, when you meet me, you've never met me in your life, we're on the tee, the starter pairs us up, and we're shaking hands and we're gonna play golf. You're gonna be with me for 4.5 to 5 hours. You're gonna find out and realize a lot of things about me in that shorter period of time, because it's just a few of us. Sometimes it's just the two of us, and then sometimes there's four.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot from the character of people, whether they're keeping the score properly and doing the right things, and whether they're following the proper etiquette of the game, those kinds of things. And business people realize that when they are out playing golf with you, and they can tell within, by the time you finish playing a round of golf, whether you're going to be the guy they want to do business with or not.
Right.
I'm the recipient of a lot of deals because I was taught the right way, and it's just a business kind of a game.
Right. So even if you're Donald Trump, you're encouraged to play golf because you can glean a lot of things about one's personality, character. And
Donald Trump sort of is.
I'm just being facetious.
Yeah.
I hope you never play with Donald Trump. I said that.
It was funny. I was invited to go out to a golf course a little over a year ago because my friend Mike Brad calls and said that a tee time was set up for us, and it was at Trump National. Okay, and I was like, okay, sure, okay. So I go down and I take my clubs, and I have a staff golf bag, which is, when I say staff, that's like a professional size golf bag, the same one you see the pros play with on TV.
Right.
And it's this huge black bag, and it's in gold embossed Democratic Club, National Democratic Club.
Wow.
I won this bag in a golf tournament. So I get out of the car, and the guy comes to get my clubs, and he goes, wow. He says, Mr. Trump sure wouldn't want to see that. So he put my clubs on, turning that around, so you couldn't see it. So when I realized that I got back to my clubs, I turned it around. But anyway,
things like that.
That was just
things like that.
That was just needling them if anyone else saw it and had anything else to say about it.
Right.
One of the questions I wanted to know, are you a 501c3?
I have just completed my documents for the 501c3.
Okay.
I have, in the last week, completed that. Okay.
No, because you had mentioned grants and stuff, and I know that's so essential.
Which some agencies, it's imperative that you are 501c3 or they won't entertain, but I've gotten, the grants I was talking to you about before, that was just done with my LLC.
Okay.
Okay. And just to get back to one of the points that you brought up a little while ago about kids and golf and equipment and expense, you're absolutely right about a lot of this, but there are places where kids can go, just go. Whether it's to a driving range, they have clubs. There are places that you can go if there's a golf course, like there's a golf course in Northeast DC that I used to play when I was a kid called Langston Golf Course. You go in there and tell anybody in there you're interested in golf, someone's gonna help you. They're gonna lead you to the junior program or something. Whether you have clubs or not, someone will get clubs for you.
Gee, well, I wish my parents were here.
The golf community is a wonderful community because people give of themselves and of their riches, their equipment.
Because I feel like, in a way, and I don't know about you, Paul, but like it's almost as if having to grow up in New York, that was somewhat culturally deprived, because you mentioned Augusta, and of course there, you have the Masters tournament, and a lot of places in the South, and then you did South, and you just mentioned this African American organization that's been around since the late 1800s, 1900s. I wasn't aware of that.
I wasn't aware of it either.
And I became interested in golf after the surprise and the success of Tiger Woods.
Yeah, well, that's my job, and jobs of people like me. There's gonna be a lot of people like me around, and you're gonna hear more about it. There's a lady, her name is DeBert Cook. She's out of New York City. She has a Golf Digest, a Black Golfer's Digest. Huge following now.
Whoa.
When I first saw it many years ago, I was like, oh, I don't think it's gonna work. huge, but just look it up. Her name is DeBert Cook. She is phenomenal. She spreads the news about things that are happening in and around African Americans in golf. The story of golf for African Americans is rich, and it goes back to the early 1900s or the late 1800s. John Shippen was an African American professional that played in the 1901 and 1902 U.S. Opens. They didn't realize that he was African American. They thought he was a Native American Indian because he could pass.
Right.
Okay, his mom was, but his dad was African American.
Yeah.
And he passed. Because there's been a white-only clause in for golf up until the 70s, I want to say, or late, sometime in the 60s, because Mr. Sifford, Ted Rose, I could go on and on and on, talking about golfers that have been spat on, and a number of other things.
Lee Elders, if I'm not mistaken, was
Lee Elders. I brought along a book that I wanted to share with you at some point. This is a picture of John Shippen there.
Audience.
All of this is at the World Golf Hall of Fame. They finally opened up the World Golf Hall of Fame to include contributions that were made by African Americans, and I had an opportunity to speak there. Because again, John Shippen was one of the original members of my golf club, the Royal Golf Club.
Is he still around, or
no,
he passed?
No.
Okay.
That's me with Mr. Sifford.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is recent, right? Or,
a very, very special man. Mr. Sifford passed away, I want to say about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I was with Mr. Sifford, Calvin Peake, there was another gentleman, I forget his name, but they're all golf icons, and within 3 months, all the three of them passed away from natural causes.
Yeah.
But that's me and Lee Elder at the historic Langston Golf Course. This is a picture of the original members of the Royal Golf Club.
Wow. And they were based in Augusta?
No, in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And if you ever want to know about the legacy and history of African Americans in golf, there's a book that was written by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Sinnett. And I've got a copy of it in here. It's called Forbidden Fairways. It tells the entire story.
Wow.
Of all of the African American professionals and the story of Joe Louis and his contributions to golf.
Joe Louis.
That's a picture of me and Dr. Sinnett right there.
Okay.
You know, this needs to be brought up for Black History.
Right,
Yes,
really.
yes.
Yeah.
I would love to do something here on Black History.
I'm gonna get you
That would
involved
be
with
great.
that.
Yeah.
So that's a copy of
She'll make it happen.
that's a copy of his book there. That's Dr. Sinnett and I, and that's Dr. Sinnett and his wife.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And these pictures here are taken at the World Golf Hall of Fame.
So all right, you mentioned Joe Louis a moment ago, a prominent, historical figure in boxing.
Brown bomber, that's right.
Yeah, and no one could be better than Joe back in that particular time. What was it that he did? Because we still were talking about an era where the civil rights, the height of the civil rights movement hadn't even started yet.
Right.
And then you had Jim Crow. It's just amazing. So what was his contribution?
Well, I don't know if you remember, Joe Louis had a resident and a number of golf course facilities in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
So, all of the entertainers, everybody loved Joe Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joe Louis became an icon in golf because he would come to Washington. He came there. He played at Langston Golf Course. In fact, there was a tree named after him on the third hole, the Joe Louis tree, because every time he tried to make that approach shot up there, that tree caught him. Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff that people do not even realize, because I never heard of it before.
Right. Yeah, but Joe Louis was big in golf. In fact, the second photo you see in that book, that's Joe Louis Burroughs, his son, who was the president and CEO of the First Tee program nationally.
Okay, maybe you can help us with this.
Yeah, let me.
Right. Oh, wait. Right here, I see the resemblance of that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Standing there with me, that's his son. That's
Wow.
Joe Louis' son. He just retired. I was in a golf tournament in Florida in February, and they gave him his farewell, and He served
Yeah.
very well. But the first tee program now is over 20 years old.
Wow.
So he served very, very honorably and very well.
Mm-hmm.
And that program, again, is, I can't say
Enough about
the success. That's why I'm sort of patting my program after it.
Yeah.
Because my kids, when they're ready for the first team, they can get there, I will graduate them up or work with them, because I'm now working collaboratively with the first tee and some of their programs. The older kids, they want me to teach those kids.
Mm.
And that became very successful. I only started doing that in the last, let's say, 3 or 4 months. And they've got kids, and the season is over, they want to continue through the winter. They got this one 15-year-old kid that started playing golf in March, this past March.
Yeah.
He's 15 years old, he wants to make the golf team, and I told him that he can't.
Why?
Well, he's got to pick up a golf club, he can, but he has to pick up a golf club every day and do something with the golf club if he wants to make that team.
Oh, okay.
I'm only saying to say, this kid has got that kind of desire, and I'm going to see
Right.
if he perseveres.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure he makes the team.
Gotcha.
David, what is your 5-year plan, your goals for the next 5 years? What would you like to see come about from Educational First Golf?
Well, I'm hoping that sometime by the spring of the year, we'll be opening up our Golf Academy and Learning Center. That is the next step for us. In the Golf Academy and Learning Center will be simulators, 2 simulators for kids, even in inclement weather, whether it's wintertime, raining, or whatever. Kids can play golf anytime with the simulators.
All right, you're saying indoor, right?
Indoors.
Yeah.
Indoors. A simulator is a setup of, it's like a video game, if you would,
Mhm.
but you're actually participating in playing.
Right.
The sensor can tell you how far you hit the ball, where you hit the ball,
Amazing.
and you play a full round of golf inside.
That's very interesting. Are you going to turn that into an app?
No, I think a lot of that's already been done.
Okay.
Okay, but that's our next step. And in 5 years, I want to be able to walk away from the day-to-day business of this and leave this in the younger hands. Some of the young professionals, I was saying that we want to bring on board the golf professionals to work with these kids, to give them a career starting job, if you would, when they're done with school. And 5 years from now, I would want to then start what we call the CDC, Community Development Corporation. That will bring in a lot of dollars to the West Center City neighborhood.
Right.
Okay? Federal dollars for education, federal dollars for housing, federal dollars for whatever the needs are. And you can identify what those needs are. State, city, and national organizations will work with you in terms of funding, grants, to facilitate you getting your job done.
Mm-hmm.
How can people reach you?
I can be reached by 2 ways. Educationfirstgolf.com is our website, or you can email me at ed1stgolf@aol.com. Again, that's edfirstgolf@aol.com.
Okay, that's great. Right now, like I say, you're listening to Our World, Our Power, and we're sponsored by Stephen G. James, attorney at law, attorney at war. And if you need to reach him, you can reach him at 646-909-5000. And he's the lawyer that you can trust, okay? And if you want to know his address, it's at 87-66 Sutton Boulevard, right here in Jamaica, Queens. Again, his number is 646-905-9000.
I've known him 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Very capable.
Yeah.
And I must say, just take a minute, that I'm very saddened to hear about his mom. I
Yeah.
wish her a speedy recovery.
Me too. Wayne, how do you feel about this program coming to New York City area?
I'm excited. I mean, I'm learning things that I did not know before. I mean, I knew Dave, but I just didn't know this aspect of his history, and it's very encouraging. And I just wish, you know, my parents, I loved them to death, but it was just that they were by that everything was about money. You know, they were sending us to private school. You know the
Yes,
drill.
I went to the
You went to
same
Catholic school, so you know what it's like. It was between tuition, food on the table, and having a roof
Oh,
over your
yeah,
head,
that was
you
one of the
know.
most important
And they,
things.
you know, I had an uncle. I shouldn't even say my uncle was my godfather. He was a doctor. One of the few in the family that graduated from Georgetown University back in the day. And he played golf. And, you know, I just remember distinctly, please, I hope my mother's not listening to this. But,
She is.
you know, don't even think about picking up, you know, a club or you know, because I would see him come in from the course. And it just amazed me, you know, what he was capable of doing. And I've always been fascinated because of what you see out there. You can get just lost just looking at the greenery. Just chipping a golf ball on a regular basis. It's intoxicating.
Yeah,
it really is, you
It
know.
Right.
But, you know, I hope that we could just get this going nationwide. I'm certain there are probably other places where someone has thought of this, but just hasn't really gotten to the point of just putting it into action.
Well,
you know,
when
the
I come-
kinetic energy was there.
When I come back, I'm gonna bring some other folks that have got programs out there to plug in to the PGA, some others, diversity type programs, to get more African Americans, minorities involved in golf.
Mhm.
My whole thing of getting kids involved with golf is that I'm teaching kids to teach kids, if that makes any sense.
Yes,
Right.
it does.
Okay, so I got high school kids teaching middle school kids teaching elementary school kids. Okay, that keeps my budget way down. Everybody's learning to play golf. Everybody's getting to be a part of the soft skills that we want to teach kids, because I'm reading every day that Fortune 500 companies are hiring all these kids with these great degrees, but they have no soft skills. They can't work with others. They don't communicate well. We talk with our kids about that every day.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yes,
That
it
is
is.
so
Very
important.
So
Yeah.
these are the kinds of things that's going to make a difference for kids. And I'm asking each of my kids that go through the program, they come back. They come back and they're teaching someone else. They're teaching someone else.
Right,
They're teaching someone
right,
else.
right.
If not, just make a small contribution. That's how we're going to grow this thing. You just think of a few years ago. When I say a few years ago, the first tee wasn't in existence 30 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay?
Right.
The first tee came about when Tiger Woods became Tiger Woods.
Ah.
Okay, all of that stuff sort of works. Tiger wanted to give back. Tiger wanted to make a difference in lesser neighborhoods.
Right.
Okay, but I'm finding that most of the first tee is not in those neighborhoods, not for our kids. So
Yeah.
I'm their first tee.
And it's good to hear that, because I don't know, I've heard he's suffered a lot of criticism for not being as proactive, you know, and I don't know what's behind that, because his dad really was the driving force, if you remember,
Yeah, I do remember that.
Well, his learning academy is phenomenal.
Mm.
He's got a learning academy that he puts, I don't know, $20 million a year in, maybe $30 million a year in. But a lot of our kids don't get there.
Right.
And they don't know about it.
Right. So I'm just trying to be a light to direct kids, because my program is not a total package or full, have all of the answers, because a lot of kids may not want to do this. But I also point out to kids the careers that are available in golf. The careers that are going to be available in broadcasting when you come on with your workshop.
Right, I hope so.
The careers that are available, what to do when you have an idea about being an entrepreneur. What's the next step? We can help them with those kinds of things.
Right. Very important.
It's very important to have that type of mentorship. And I'm very thankful, David, for you to be coming on our show, World Hour of Power. And audience, I hope you got some positive information, because that's what we're always about, giving out information to the community. And don't forget, it's our World Hour of Power, where your news reflects you and your community. Thank you, Mr. Wayne Gilman.
Well,
for being
Ms.
part.
Swift, it's an honor and a pleasure. You can call me at any time. I've sort of missed this aspect because there was a time in my life.
Well, you know when I started
was-
this, you was one of the first persons I thought about.
Really?
Yes.
And then when I heard there was no money,
That always is a deterrent.
yeah, I'm ashamed to say that, but you
Oh, you
know,
are.
yeah, I am ashamed to say that. But to be honest with you, I'm proud of what you've been able to amass, you know. And I just recently lost the co-host of another program that I'm a part of, and it's just amazing how social media has really become more of what broadcasting used to be, you know?
I've always wondered how you feel when you see people like myself, and even though I went to school for broadcasting, I did many Sundays. That was my first love, as a matter of fact, was broadcasting.
Right.
And but it does take a lot of mentoring, no matter what it is with young people.
That's right.
Whether it's golf, whether it's broadcasting, whatever, it's about working together as a community.
Absolutely, and just being a good beacon of light for them,
Yeah.
yes.
So I would like to say thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
And I will, I'm a phone call away, I might be 100 miles away.
Oh, please give out that number again,
Yes.
how people can reach you.
My phone number is area code 443-414-7000. Again, 443-414-7000, or email edfirstgolf@aol.com.
All right, thank you guys, and don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Catch you all next week. Take care.
It's over?